As teachers, we find ourselves never having enough time in the day to do all the things that we need. We need to plan lessons, stay on top of student information, and manage all of our responsibilities while struggling to maintain a healthy work-life balance. Welcome to Notion for Teachers. My name is Milo, and today I'm going to show you how to manage all of these challenges using an easy-to-use education management system inside Notion. I currently teach at a private academy here in South Korea and have so many different classes, hundreds of students, all with varying skill levels and grades. So I put together a management system inside Notion to organize anything I needed as a teacher, and I decided to share it with you guys. The system allows you to do a number of things, starting with planning lessons. Here you can keep track of all of your lessons for the year, being able to filter by unit, subject, and lesson type. You can easily drag and drop lessons onto the calendar to plan lessons more easily. Next is a classroom management system for teachers who have a consistent weekly schedule. Here you can easily access class information in one location and link all of your students and lessons for that class. This management system can also help you keep track of your student information. The dashboard has a list and gallery view to track students easily, and each student page allows you to tag specific notes and lessons for each student to give a more personalized learning experience. The system also includes a section for note-keeping. This allows you to quickly write down lesson plans, student notes, and organize any important ideas, all of which are neatly organized by different tags and notebooks. One Notion dashboard would not be complete without a task manager. Stay on top of your to-do lists, administrative tasks, or ongoing projects you have. The task manager also provides a clear overview of your current tasks and deadlines. Next, we have two resource pages, a teacher resource page for any additional resources you might have, also a database for you to save any helpful web resources you might have as well. Later in the video, I'll show you how to use this page really effectively. Lastly, this management system includes an inbox and archive system. The inbox allows you to quickly create notes and tasks, and the archive system allows you to store any old lesson plans, student information, or projects that are no longer needed. This management system is available for download in the description down below if you are interested. But now I'm going to explain how to get started using this system in more detail, so stick around. Okay, here is the main directory of the education management system. Here you can find all the different sections of the system itself. I've also included some additional resources that you might find interesting as well. But to get started with this system, we're going to start off by clicking into the student section. The first thing we're going to do to get started using this system is to create some new student profiles. So we're going to come over here to the student gallery view, and we're going to click New Student. From here, we can full screen to get a better view. And we're first going to give our student a name. So let's give this student the name Michael. The next thing we're going to do is give Michael a profile picture. Don't worry, these are not real people. I've generated some AI faces for this tutorial. And the last thing we're going to do is click on New Student Template. This template now gives us all the relevant information we may need for this student. The first thing we created is a link to a private note, any classes the student might be tagged to. Also, if you're a private tutor, you can tag and create private lessons for this student, and then attendance and test scores. But what we care about most here is the private note. Let's now give Michael his own private note here. Let's call this note Michael's note. We're then going to give it a tag for student. And what we can do now is then click student note. The purpose of this note is so we can record and store information easily about this one specific student. If you have any information regarding attendance, behavior, academics, then you can store it here. I find this is just a really convenient way of storing student information. But once we have done creating this note, we are now finished creating this student profile. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to create a few more student profiles. Okay, here I have created 7 more students just for this example tutorial. And that's it for student creation. Now, this system does have a way of keeping track of attendance and student test scores. It is a bit more advanced and not absolutely required to get set up with this system, and so I will include a tutorial on how to use it at the end of this video. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is set up the classes page. This page is only for teachers who have a consistent teaching schedule throughout the week. So if you are a private tutor, then you can just leave this page blank. I'm going to create a few classes for the purpose of this tutorial based on an example teaching schedule that I'll put on the screen here. We can create a class one of 2 ways. We can go over to the board view and create a class here by clicking new, or we can go over to the list view and click new class here. To finish creating our first class, we're going to click on open our new class, and then we're going to open up into full screen. So here, let's call our new class English. We're going to give it the teaching day Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then give it the time slot 9 to 10 a.m. Let's also change the icon color so we can distinguish it easily from other classes. We'll give it a blue circle here. Now, the next thing we can do is to tag some students that are in this class. If we go over here to add student, we can then find all of the students that are in this English class. And so let's say Daniel, Sarah, Lisa, and Alice are in this English class. You'll notice now that all of the students in this class, or the students that are tagged to this class, will show up here on the main page. Any lessons that are also tagged to this class will also show up here. Now, if we go back to the main page, we can start to create our other classes. Now I'm going to create the history and science classes doing the exact same thing. So I'm going to go over here, click new class. We're going to we'll type in history for this one. We're going to open it up into full screen so we can get a better look at it. Again, we're going to give it a different color. Let's give it a brown circle this time. Teaching day, Tuesday and Thursday. And we'll give it the time slot, I believe 10 a.m. Again, we can also tag some different students to our history class. Let's say Michael, Alex, John, and Sally this time. Okay, and that's it for history. Again, I'm going to do the exact same thing for our science class. Now, once all of our classes are finished being created, you can see that all of the classes now show up really nicely on this board view to the left here, all of which you can click into to get more information on this class. Also, we can see that our students are nicely organized into English, history, and science classes. Okay, that is it for creating our classes. But now let's click inside one of these classes just so we can see what is inside one of these pages. If we click into the English page here, there are a few things on this page. The first is a class note. So if we want, similar to the student note we created, we can also create notes for this specific class. So this is for English. Let's create an English class note. Let's call it English class note. We can now click class note here. And if we want, we can leave ourselves any notes that we might need for this class. Okay, let's close it up. Next, we have lessons that are tagged for this class. In the next section, when we do create some sample lessons, we will tag those lessons to different classes, and they will show up here on the class page. We can see here we have lessons that will show up for today, and then lessons for this week. We also have our student list, or our student gallery view. Here we can see all of our students that are tagged to this page. And then lastly, we have attendance, which again, I will show you how to use at the end of this video. But really, that is all that is on the class page. This should give you all of the important information that you need for each of your classes. The next thing we're going to do is to create some lessons. Now we're going to come over to the lesson page here. There are a lot of things we can do on this page, so I'm going to spend a bit of time showing you all the different functionality of the lessons page. Over on the right here, we have lesson subjects and lesson types. If you have different lesson subjects other than science, history, language, of course you can delete these and add in your own lesson subjects. Of course, the same with lesson types. These are just here to help you organize all of your lessons in a little bit more detail. On the left here, we have a lesson inbox. This is where we can draft lessons quite quickly. We also have lesson units. You can consider lesson units as individual lesson folders that help group lessons together. So we're going to begin by creating a new lesson unit for our science class. Let's click on New. Let's call this lesson template, Introduction to Dinosaurs. Let's now give our new dinosaur unit a new cover and a new icon. Great, that looks much better. And now let's give this unit the subject science. On this lesson page, we now have a view created for us where we can easily plan and organize all of the lessons for this lesson unit. We have a lesson inbox where we can easily draft lessons for this unit, and also a calendar view that lets us easily see all of the lessons and when they're taught for this lesson unit. Let's now begin by creating our first lesson for this dinosaur unit. We're going to come over to Inbox here, and we're going to click New. We're going to call this Week 1, Introduction to Dinosaurs. We're going to give it the subject Science, and we're then going to give it a type. We're going to click Lesson Type, and let's choose a date that it's taught. Let's say next Tuesday, since our science classes are on Tuesday and Thursday. Great. Let's open up our lesson and give it a nice cover. There we go. Now on this lesson page here, we can add in any lesson resources we might need for this introductory dinosaur lesson. Let's minimize this here. We're going to now copy this lesson 3 more times and add in a few more lessons to this unit. What I have done here is created 3 more lessons for our dinosaur unit. We have week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. If we come down to the calendar view here, we can see all of our lessons that we just created. So let's move them around a little more nicely. And here we go. We now have 4 lessons, 4 dinosaur lessons for this dinosaur unit. The last thing we can do now is we can come back to our inbox here. We can select everything, all of our lessons. We can go over to status, and we can now click Not Started. Now the status tag here is to help you understand which lessons you have created resources for. Right now, these lessons are tagged as not started, so we have not created any resources for this lesson. If, say, you have completed creating your lesson, adding in all the resources, and the lesson is ready to teach, then we can click on status and we can click on create. If the lesson, you are currently in the process of building the lesson, then we can click in progress. This allows you to see which lessons have been created and are ready to be taught to the class. The last thing we must do now is to tag each of these lessons to our science class. So let's click on week 1 here. We're going to go over to add class, and we're going to click on our science class. Here we can see that now this lesson is now tagged to the science class. Let's do the same thing to the rest of our lessons. Great, now all of our dinosaur lessons are now tagged to the science class. If we now come back to the main lesson page here, we can see that all of our dinosaur lessons are now visible on the calendar. We have 2 different views that we can use. We have a standard that gives you some more information about which class the lesson is for, or if you have a lot of lessons and everything's getting a bit crowded, then we can just click on minimal. Now, if we would like to create a private lesson for a student, we can also do that as well. So if we come up to inbox here, let's create new, and let's create a new private lesson for essay writing. Let's open up the lesson here so we can edit it a bit further. We're then going to give it a subject, language, type, we'll say lesson. But instead of adding a class, this time we're going to add in an individual student. So if we come over here, let's click Daniel. We're going to give Daniel a private essay lesson. We can go to Détente and give it a date. Let's say next Monday. Let's also give it a nice cover. Okay, and now we're going to change the status from inbox to not started. And there we have it. That's all we have to do to create a private lesson. If we do have classes throughout the week, then we can tag lessons using the class tag. If we just want to create lessons for a private student, then all we need to do is tag that student to that lesson. All right, now that we have set up our students, our classes, and our lessons, we're basically ready to get started using the system. If we come back to our classes page here, we can now see how everything has linked together. Let's scroll down here and now click on one of our students. Let's say Daniel. We can see on Daniel's page that all of his classes for the week are now shown up here. We can also see that his essay writing lesson appears here as well. Say we click on one of our classes, let's say science class. We can also see that all of the lessons for this week now appear on the classes page. This allows us to see what lessons are taught for this class and gives us easier access to all the resources that we need. Okay, we're next going to take a quick look at the notes section. If we come down to the inbox here, we can see that all of our student notes that we have created earlier are sitting here in the inbox. Let's give these notes a home and create a new notebook. If we come down here, I can click on Notebook 1, and we can title this Student Notebook. Notebooks are just ways of storing large amounts of notes in one easy to find area. Let's select all of our student notes here, excluding the English class note. We're then going to select Notebook, select Student Note. We're then going to move all of these notes from the inbox to Done. Status, inbox to Done. We now have moved all of these student notes into an easy to find student notebook. Next, let's take a look at our English class note that we also created earlier. Let's, just for the sake of this tutorial, let's click on Favorite. We're then going to move our English note over to Draft. Here, it moves the note over to the right into the Draft section, which allows us to see the note more easily. We can also see Recent and Favorited notes. Again, let's also move this note over to Done. Now, we can see all of our notes are nicely organized down here in this board view. You can also tag all of your notes with different note topics: class, lesson, student task, interesting, reminder, personal, and note topic. You can also create your own custom note topics as well. This management system also has a task manager, which is a pretty standard task manager that's broken up into projects and tasks. If we would like to create a new project, we can come over to the right here and click on New. We can then click on New Project. The new project template will bring up the task inbox, also the list of tasks that are associated with this project, and then a calendar view that shows all of the tasks for this project as well. We can also easily create a new task in the inbox here. Let's create a new task. Let's call it Create Lesson Plan. We can give it a due date. We can also give it a tag for to do. Of course, you can change all of these tasks to anything that you might prefer. Let's do to do, and we'll give it the new task project. We can see now a status bar has appeared on our project gallery view. If we click into project, we can now see our new create lesson plan has appeared here. Let's now move this task from inbox to in progress. The task will now move from the inbox to the calendar view over here. Any tasks that are tagged inbox or completed will not show up on this calendar. We can also view tags by today, tomorrow, next 7 days, and also recently completed. The task manager can help you easily keep track of any tasks that you need to get done in the day, in the week, or even future projects in the next month or so. Next, I'm going to quickly show you how to use the web resources page. It's a really useful page for storing any useful or interesting web resources that you might find. Similar to all the other pages, this page also has an inbox view and is sorted by different topics. Now, one way to really use this web page well is to get the Chrome extension Notion Web Clipper. Once you install this Chrome extension, if you are ever on say a web page that you find really useful, you can go over to Notion Web Clipper and click on Save Page. Make sure that you are saving it to Web Resources. And what this will do is it will now send that website or that resource that you found over to the inbox here for you to check. So now we have Pexels free stock images here. Let's give it a topic for free resources. And then we can send it from the inbox to reviewed. We can now see our Pexels web resource pop up here. From here, we can see that we have the URL, topic, and reviewed. There, it's just that easy. Let's now give it a favorite. The last thing we're going to do is take a look at the dashboard. This is where all of the sections come together in one place. At the top of the dashboard here, we can see that we have the inbox system. All of the inbox systems for the whole education system in general is here for tasks, notes, lessons, and web resources. If we continue to scroll down, we can see we have our task manager here with our projects and tasks on the left, and on the right, we have our calendar view. Below the calendar view, we also have our favorited notes and our favorited resources. Below the task manager, we also have our lessons for this week. So any lessons that we must teach this week will show up here. We can see that our week 1 dinosaur lesson has shown up on the left here. If we continue to scroll down below lessons, we also have our classrooms and also all of our students. So all of the information from all of the different systems are located on this one page. As promised, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to use the student attendance system in tests and quizzes. I decided to leave it to the end of the video as it is not necessarily required because it is a bit advanced, and so I wanted to save this to the end. If we come over to attendance here, we can click on New, and this will create one missed day. So let's give it a date. Let's say today. And then we can tag any students that had missed that day. Let's say Daniel, Sarah, and Lisa missed that day. Let's create another new day. Let's say yesterday. And now let's say Daniel also missed that day, and also Alex and Sally. We can now see here on the left student list all of the students with their missed days. To create a new test, we can come to the test inbox here and create new. Let's call this new test Dinosaur Test. Let's give it a date, let's say for today as well. We'll then give it a total score. Maybe for this test, we'll call it 100. We can now open the dinosaur test and add any test resources we might need. Once this is done, we can now move it from the inbox to created. The dinosaur test will now appear at the bottom here. The next thing we need to do is to duplicate this test for each student that completed the test. So we're going to click here and click duplicate. We have now duplicated the test 5 times, and we can now add in our individual students. Now each student will have a single version of the test linked to them, and after we can now give each student their own score. Let's say Daniel was perfect and scored 100. Sarah, maybe 75, 80, 85, 95. Once we have finished creating all of the tests, tagging our students, and adding in their scores, we can now move all of these tests to the archive system. We can do this by selecting all of the tests, going over to Edit Property, Status, and then changing the status to Archive. We can now see here on our student list, every student will now have some missed days and also their test scores. If you want, you can continue to add in test scores, and all of the test scores will be averaged out. Well, that is it for how to get started using this education management system in Notion. If you have stayed around this long, thank you so much. I really hope you find it useful. The download link is in the description down below. Again, thank you, and see you next time.